And I assume we're conserving energy because it's pretty cold in here, or we are wasting energy, right? We don't need it. And somebody's taking a look right now at the thermostat, I believe. So, I'm Councilmember Jose Weezer. I've been joined by Councilmember Dennis Zine and Councilmember Koretz just walked in. We'll wait out for. We will ask. We got a pen. Find me a pen. I got it. Mr. Koretz and Mr. Zine, if we could take items number 9, 5.
Are you going backwards?
I'm sorry, yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 consent, if that's okay. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Are you okay with that, Mr. Koretz?
I am fine with it.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Oh, do we have public comment? We have any cards on? Okay, we have public comment on 6. We'll take 6 off, so we'll do. Okay. Yeah, we do have. Oh, we have. Okay, we do. We'll take 5. 6, 7, and 8. 6, 7, and 8 will take off, so 5 and 9 on consent. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So we can start with the agenda.
Okay. Item number 1, Bureau of Sanitation report relative to the status of the environmental impact report and implementation plan for the phase-out of plastic bags and related matters.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, honorable council members and staff, audience. We've been asked to come in today and give you an update on where we're at. Oh, by the way, my name is Daniel Hackney. I am the Bureau of Sanitation Program Manager over the banning of the single-use plastic bag. Brief history dating back to 2004. The city has been looking into how to combat the problem of litter that's dramatically exacerbated by plastic bags. Dating back to 2006, the state of California has been looking at a slew of proposals to also ban grocery store plastic bags. So we've kind of been going in tandem with them as far as when we were going to have to enact either local municipal legislation here in the city or rely on a statewide policy. We were hoping for the latter because it would have relieved quite a bit of our responsibility in doing an EIR. But last May, council directed us to go ahead and proceed with examining doing an EIR and examining the prospects for banning single-use plastic bags here in the city of Los Angeles. Since that time, your update is we met with and hired Parsons Brinkerhoff, one of our consultants. They have been proceeding on a timeline that should have a final EIR to you for your consideration on May 30th of this coming year. The timeline steps in between that have been, we have released an initial study, notice of preparation of the EIR. All of this is required under CEQA guidelines. There are mandatory review periods for the public to have access, give their input and feedback. So it is a developing document, but we are on a very strict timeline and staying on schedule per council instructions. So the next step is we are currently reviewing, Bureau staff and the city attorney are currently reviewing the draft EIR that's been submitted to us. Once we have our comments and the city attorney's comments, it will go back to the consultant. They will return a final draft EIR that will be released to the public in early January. they will have a 45-day review period in which the public will give us their response to the document. I'm sure we'll hear from many of our environmental partners like Heal the Bay. And then we just keep kicking it back and forth. Based on that feedback, we will make the changes, ping-pong it back and forth from the consultant to ourselves. Throughout this process, we will be doing extensive public education and outreach to all of your districts and your constituents so that they are partners in this document and this process, and that we have consensus at the end of it. Also, this month, I should bring up that the 6th annual Day Without a Bag event that Heal the Bay partners with us. It's going to happen on December 20th. I believe they are reaching out to all 10 Albertson stores in the city of Los Angeles. Their previous events have been countywide. This year they're focusing solely within the city of LA boundaries because of the pending ban that we hope to pass in LA. Also, the Bureau of Sanitation will be turning that into Week Without a Bag. And our own sanitation staff will be going out to 10 events citywide, Valley, Harbor, East LA to the west side. We'll be covering it all. We are providing 5,000 reusable bags to Heal the Bay for their events, and we anticipate handing out an additional 3,000 to 5,000 at our staff events. And that's where we're at right now, if you have any questions.
Oh, thank you. I'll open it up to the panel and to the public, but first, when can you expect the transmittal of the final EIR?
You have a deadline or timeline in front of you. Our anticipation is to have the document to you on May 30th, 2013. Currently, we're running on schedule on every single one of our timeline measures.
Okay.
We don't anticipate going off schedule.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? And then we'll go into the public comment. Mr. Zine?
Thank you. You can do a full EIR, you can piggyback on the county's EIR.
Our staff and our consultant have reviewed the county EIR inside and out. We expect to deliver our own separate EIR, a full EIR that will be more extensive and more comprehensive than even the county EIR was. Some new data has come to light since the county did theirs.
And you mentioned the bags, you mentioned Albertsons. Albertsons, you mentioned 10 stores. I know they're downsizing. We've got other major supermarkets like Ralph's and Vaughn's, Pavilions, et cetera.
Right.
We look at the bags and the cost of the bags. Have we looked to see if we can get them to put ads and reduce the cost of the bags that we're going to be purchasing? And the other question is how much we paying for each bag?
I'm not certain on the cost of the bags. This is Karen Coco with sanitation. We have thought about partnering with people. I mean, obviously a lot of people around town are doing their own reusable bags. I know that our director, Enrique Zaldivar, feels that the small cost that the city pays for these bags is in and of itself a fantastic public outreach and education tool for the Bureau and for the city. I mean, when we've got people going into stores carrying, City of LA Bureau of Sanitation provided bags, first of all, we control the quality of that bag. When other people are making bags, we don't know. They're good, they're bad, people have a bad experience with them.
I'm talking about bags that we're going to be purchasing, that we're going to be distributing at the City of Los Angeles, and the cost of those bags.
Sure.
And if we looked into having people advertise, like maybe the Department of Water, maybe the police department, have some of those logos on there to help reduce the cost. But
Sure.
and I know there's a standard that we've set for the bags. I think it has to hold 25 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. So the bags that are on the private sector, they can do what they wish. But we do have a standard, which obviously we had to subscribe to. But what are we looking at the cost of those bags, and how do we reduce that cost by having some other type of incentive?
Karen Coco with the Bureau of Sanitation. We've been purchasing and distributing bags, reusable bags, since about 2005. In that time, the cost of bags has dramatically dropped, and I'm happy to say the quality, especially of the ones that we're getting now, has gone up quite a bit. But the bags that we order now, which we test for heavy metals, and they have passed the durability standards that we're proposing for our ordinance, cost us less than 50 cents each. So,
Now, when the private sector does the bags, are they going to be required to meet that same standard?
yes,
25 pounds, et
once,
cetera?
in most jurisdictions where they have passed a bag ban, the durability standards are included in their ordinances as well. So they will be required, if they sell reusable bags or give them away, that they must meet the durability standards.
And that's part of the standard that we're going to apply to this ordinance.
Yes.
Okay, and the other question is, when we look at the outreach, the neighborhood councils, the chambers, all the other groups, senior programs, et cetera, are we going to be touching all those different groups for the distribution of the bags and the information that goes along with this program?
Absolutely. In fact, the first shipment we got of the new bags, which I wish I had brought a stack of them, but I didn't. It's very colorful, the bag is, the new one, so I'll make sure that we bring them. We did deliver them to the council offices, and we make them available to the neighborhood councils so that when they have events, they can come pick them up and distribute them in the communities. We've already given out, in 2012, we're on track to give out over 40,000 reusable bags citywide through mayor and council events and neighborhood councils. So it's a very good, effective way of getting the message out.
And are these bags manufactured locally or are they overseas?
Now, unfortunately, they are manufactured overseas. The bags that are manufactured locally are generally a sewn bag, a cloth bag, and they cost in the range to $5 to $7 each.
Well, that obviously cost is prohibitive. Are we dealing with a local vendor with the bags, or are we dealing with a...
We have a city vendor that we work with to source the bags, yes.
Okay, so we've done price comparison on this
Absolutely.
particular, that meets the standard.
We did a
And the other question, we know that the supermarkets are the target, but you go to Target, go to Kohl's, go to Home Depot, all those other places have similar plastic bags that are used in the supermarkets. Is there any outreach or attempt to try and get those folks to convert over? Because if a plastic bag goes into the system, whether it's from a supermarket or from a novelty store, it's still a bag clogging the system. Have we done anything with other than the supermarket industry?
Well, the notification has been sent out. Of course, the city has not taken that final action. We're just examining it in the environmental impact report right now. Also, I want to note that Targets and Walmarts, because they have a food component in their store, they're actually covered under the ordinance that is being drafted. Plus the small convenience stores if they have food, but we certainly will include the Home Depots and retail stores that may not be covered under this ordinance to encourage them to be part of it.
So anything with food, they must have this reusable bag. That's
Yeah,
the key.
the ordinance is specifically targeting stores that have a food component to them or a large pharmacy. So it would be the CVS and Walgreens and not just the grocery stores.
And then one final question. You mentioned the state is looking into some legislation in this arena. Does the state legislation broaden out from where we are in their legislative discussions?
No, it was just, they've been looking at similar, I mean, there's already a couple of dozen cities in California that have banned the bag. So at some point, there seems to be, a critical mass point where state legislature has been considering, let's just make it a statewide policy, which, as I said, would have relieved us of, the money that it's going to cost to develop an EIR and the staff time and such, because we would have just been enacting state policy instead of our own city policy. So it's probably likely that that's going to happen sometime, I think. But, I think we're at a point after 8 years of waiting around that we have to take our own action. At least that's apparently what you guys
And then
arrived at that conclusion.
when the state does make a mandate, they don't provide any funding, they just
Sure.
force you to do it.
Generally not. Just like the feds.
Just like that.
You did bring up an earlier point I want to address, because I know our partners, Hilda Bay, are in the room. They're going to be at every Albertson store, but they also have participation with Vons and Ralph's, you mentioned, since those are the two other huge chains citywide. So they do have, I should say, I have it in front of me, Ralph's, anybody bringing a reusable bag that day gets triple fuel points. Vons, if you spend $25, you get a free reusable bag. If 50 is 2, 75 is 3. So they are partnering. On the sanitation front, our events that we're going with non-chain stores in low-income areas and also some big places like, say, the park down here by Fidham. We're going to hand out bags to all the students so we can get the young people on board with this environmental movement. Panorama Mall out in the valley, places like that. So, and finally, just to say, as program manager, outreach is kind of my specialty. So we will leave no stone unturned in the coming year as far as we're going after everybody. We're going to educate everybody that lives and works in the city of Los Angeles.
Well, I do know my personal preference. I do have bags in my car, and the problem is when I go in to do marketing, I forget the bag. Somehow we need to train ourselves. A lot of people have those bags. How many of you take them into the store, you get, I forgot the bag. I mean, somehow we need to recondition ourselves. But I've got a number of bags, and they, sadly, and I get back,
Yes.
I forgot it again.
I think we've all done that.
Okay, all right.
You're not alone.
Okay, great.
Mr. Kretz, and for the record, Mr. Alarcon has joined us.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm, first of all, I want to thank the Bureau for your good work moving this forward, and I'm excited to see the bag ban moving in the right direction. I'm probably a little more skeptical about the chances of it passing at the state level because some of the interest groups, having actually done the first effort in, I think, 2004 that barely was a blip on the radar screen because it got squashed so quickly. But even as we've made progress, it's very difficult at the state level. Here, not as much, so we've been more successful. Now, I know when we first talked about doing the EIR, we were told this could be done in as short a time as 4 months. So how do we wind up with a year as a timeline?
Well, I believe the 4 months was the direction by council, and I believe we were told at the time it was a stretch goal. Unfortunately, with a full EIR, there are statutory requirements for circulation. We're also having a number of meetings for people to fully comment on it. I think we want to make sure that when this document is completed, that it is as bulletproof as possible because many of the actions by many other communities have been litigated against over the years. So unfortunately, it does take time to put together a document that's going to stand, and that's why it's going to take so long.
I think we all want to try to get this done under the present administration, since you'll have a new mayor and about half a new council. Do we actually have a chance on this timeline to have it to council for a vote during this current administration?
Yes, we do. And that's why we put it in writing. We do believe that we can complete it during this administration.
So
Quite possibly on your last day. Could be your going away present to the city.
well, that last day is fine as long as it's still in June. I'll still be here, presumably, but I think we'll wind up with 7 new council members, so that's quite a change. So far in the process, have we found out anything unusual? Any unexpected negatives to the change? Any unexpected positives to the change?
No, as a matter of fact, on the positive side, it's been shown that The paper bag use, even after these bans, goes down dramatically, not just the plastic bags, which of course are banned, but people, there's quite a dramatic drop in paper bag use as well. So I think people do get the message and get their reusable bags or go back to their car and get them. After a while, it's a culture change, but it is one that seems to stick with people.
It was about 6 months in the county. Your earlier question, Councilman Zine, as to why we would do our own with the counties there. One of the things that was shown in theirs, they projected in their EIR that there would be this huge spike in the purchase of single-use paper bags from people who forget their bags at home or just aren't with the movement or whatever. In actuality, there was a less than that spike for about 6 months, and then it just plummeted back down, and apparently everybody in the county got the hang of it.
Very good. Thank you.
Clark, any questions?
Actually, I think you covered it. The 4-month was essentially projected to where we would piggyback on the county's EIR. We're not doing that, so we have to sort of duplicate some of the efforts, some of the steps that the county did, and so it's taking longer. I concur with Mr. Koretz. I wouldn't anticipate the legislature to move in that direction in the short term, and I also believe that I'm not worried about the next administration of the city of Los Angeles, because I believe almost all the mayoral candidates have supported the plastic bag ban, and I'm sure with Mr. Koretz's leadership, the other 7 new council members will get in line very quickly. Otherwise, they will bear the wrath of a ferocious fighter from the west side of town.
Thank you. Let me go to public comment, and then we'll come back for any final questions. Jack Allen. After Jack Allen is Catherine Benz.
Jack Allen, Pacific Palisades. I'm a lifelong environmentalist. And so people are surprised because I'm opposed to this, because I think the bag ban will do more damage to the environment than it will help. I think the cure is worse than the disease. And there's tremendous scientific evidence that supports it. Now, I know I'm probably talking to a brick wall, and I try to say, really consider it. It's like Galileo trying to tell Pope Gregory III that the sun was the center of the universe, not the earth. But these bags, you got it right on the head, they're going to be made overseas. The cotton bags will be made overseas. They're going to be made, the cotton's going to come from children who pick it in the cotton fields in Africa and in India. It's going into manufacturing plants in China, who they don't care about how they're made. Their pollution will go, and that pollution will be far more than what is used to produce one of these little plastic bags. That pollution is 137 times more. These plastic bags are made out of the waste products of refining, so that it would be burned off if it wasn't used to make these plastic bags. And what are paper bags made of? They're made out of wood waste. They don't cut the trees down to make the bags. They use the waste to make the bags. So the environment isn't really helped by that. It's being hurt because you're going to have all this pollution produced overseas. You're going to have these shipped over here. It's going to take a ship to bring them over here, cargo containers and everything, and that all adds to the environment. But anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing the EIR, although I don't think it's going to be any better than the county, which was a terrible EIR.
Thank you. Catherine Benz. After Catherine Benz is Sarah Sheehy.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Catherine Benz. I'm the policy analyst with Heal the Bay. First, just to really briefly address the previous commenter's comments about reusable bags having a larger environmental impact than plastic bags. We would respectfully request that you consider the lifetime use of reusable bags as opposed to a disposable plastic bag. And it's been shown both with the LA County EIR that reusable bags really have a lesser environmental impact when considered how many times they are reused. But speaking to the progress that the city has made on the EIR, we certainly appreciate all the hard work that the Bureau of Sanitation has put into developing the EIR and working with the public to include us in that process. We are mindful, however, of the City Council's original directive about preparing the EIR as quickly as possible, and we are hopeful that this important ordinance will be finalized quickly. And so for these reasons, we would just ask that the committee direct the Bureau of Sanitation to make the timeline as brief as possible and get it in front of the City Council for a vote. And as Mr. Hackney mentioned, the 6th annual Day Without a Bag is occurring on December 20th, and we certainly hope to see you at some of the events in LA. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah? And then Rick Crandall.
Good afternoon, Sarah Sheehy with the California Grocers Association. I want to thank the committee and the council for working with our industry to implement a carryout bag policy that protects our industry while also achieving its environmental goals. Banning plastic while mandating a 10-cent charge on paper has proven effective in other jurisdictions, as we've just heard. However, after looking at the draft ordinance in the EIR, we noticed that a WIC and EBT exemption exists. Because of this, we urge the committee to amend the policy and delete the 6-month grace period, as it's referred to, where plastic is banned, but there is no mandated charge on paper. Grocery stores in the city of LA stand to lose millions in this 6-month period because customers will just move to the more expensive alternative of paper and not be incentivized to use reusable bags until that 10-cent charge kicks in. That is the incentive. Since WIC and EBT customers already receive free bags and always will, there is no reason for that 6-month grace period to exist and will result in huge profit losses for our members. We urge the committee to delete the 6-month grace period, and once the plastic is banned, to include the automatic mandated 10-cent charge for paper. We also think it will help with customer confusion. Finally, Councilman Zine, if you would like to include all retailers in this proposal, we'd love that. After all, a plastic bag is not just detrimental at a grocery store, it's also detrimental at Home Depot. However, our sticking point was that convenience stores, gas stations, liquor stores, any store that sells the same type of food products that we sell, all be included for a competitive, even playing field. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Rick Crandall. After Rick is Kendra Doyle.
Good afternoon, council members. Rick Crandall from Albertsons Grocery Store, Southern California. I'm the director of sustainability for the company. I just want to congratulate you for moving forward. It's been a long couple of years to get it there. I think you've made a lot of fantastic changes to the actual ordinance. I do have a concern about the 6-month grace period. Most people don't understand that, if we actually have 2 pilot stores that we actually did where we have bags, plastic bag banned, and then gave them paper, and we saw an exact opposite of what the county ordinance did. He is 100% correct by stating that there is no increase in bags once you do the 10-cent charge. People figure that out real quick. 4 or 5 of those, I could have bought a reusable. It would have been what we needed to do. My greatest concern is I'm not sure you understand the impact of the paper bags during that 6-month period. It takes 11 trucks to get the same amount of bags to a store that 1 truck would do in plastic. So if we take that 6-month period and we have every retailer now sending paper bags to our stores, your streets are going to be just tons more trucks bringing paper bags for that 6-month period. The cost goes away after 6 months, it is in the millions of dollars for any retailer that we're out there, not counting, and that's just the cost of the bag. It's not including the labor, the time, the effort, the distribution costs. But I'm just concerned about the trucks on the street. 11 truckloads of paper bags to equal one plastic. So if we're going to ban it, I recommend that we go ahead and keep the county model. We just had the San Luis Obispo County. I have 5 stores up there that just went plastic bag ban with the 10-cent charge. Seamless. Actually, our sales actually went up because the entire county did it. So I think if you keep that plan and keep it consistent, as all of the other counties and cities have, I think we may soon see some sales increases in the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kendra Doyle?
Good afternoon. I'm Kendra Doyle, Vice President of Public Affairs for Ralph's Grocery, Food for Less and Foods Co. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here to speak with you today regarding this issue. And first and foremost, I want to thank you for your leadership regarding this issue. Ralph's and Food for Less strongly support the city's efforts to ban plastic bags in favor of reusable bags. One of the things that we do when we begin to go down one of the roads of seeing a ban in different communities that we've been in is an educational process. Because our associates, our union members are the ones that are on the front lines talking to customers as they go through this ban and helping them through the confusion and the difference in what needs to be done. So we do significant consumer education to equip consumers with reusable bags, whether that's through a giveaway program. We are taking part, as was mentioned, with the Day Without a Bag program coming up. And bags with purchase, discounted bags, we put it in our ads, our paper ads that go out to remind folks this is coming, to let them know that that's on its way. And as was mentioned, we've seen it to be very seamless in other areas because we do want to do this reach and outreach to consumers. The area that does concern us, is, again, as was mentioned, was a 6 months grace period with free paper bags. It has a significant potential cost associated with that in the millions of dollars, certainly to our grocers in the area, and would have a significant impact. So we would urge you to not have that 6 month grace period. Give us the opportunity to reach out to consumers, educate them as we've done very successfully in other areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think the original intention of the 6 month grace period was to allow for consumers to adjust to the paper bags, whether we know that will happen or not. We have yet to see, but in terms of studying it and looking at the environmental impacts, do we have to make a decision whether we want to continue with that now, or can we continue with the EIR and then look at those issues and change the policy later?
Well, as part of a full environmental impact report, you examine a range of alternatives to the proposed project, and that was the decision that was made to examine that project. The range of alternatives can certainly include banning both plastic and paper, or moving with a 10-cent store charge immediately. When the question of the final decision comes back to council, the council can certainly take an action that is not necessarily exactly the same as the policy that they're examining.
So we could make those. How does it impact your environmental review at all in terms of whether we change that later or change that now if we change it?
No, it does not.
It does not. Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Zine? And then
One final question. The money that we're going to be utilized for the city program, where's that money coming from?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
The source of money to fund this particular program, where's that coming from?
The Citywide Recycling Trust Fund is paying for the development of this program.
And the continuation of the program, and there's sufficient funds in there to manage this?
There are sufficient funds at this point to manage the program.
And for the distribution of the bags?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Koretz?
So just to clarify, as part of the EIR process, are you able to examine other cities' experiences with a grace period, without a grace period?
Yes, as a matter of fact, as I said, you have a range of alternatives that you're looking at, and you do sort of weigh the alternatives environmentally. So when the decision comes back to full council for the final decision, they can certainly weigh those factors in coming back.
Yeah, I will say, it seemed like a decent idea when it was first suggested to have a 6-month grace period without charging for paper, but based on what we've heard, it's more like a 6-month waste period, because we're wasting all that paper when we could just make the transition to the more permanent bags and not have a period of paper waste. And while plastic is worse, paper has a lot of negative environmental impacts as well. So, plus the trucking issue, which I hadn't heard expressed before, but as we're trying to reduce the number of truck trips with our waste hauling program, at the same time increasing truck trips the other way seems like a negative as well. So I certainly would have concerns going into it from an environmental perspective, which hopefully we'll look at as well.
Yeah, I think enough questions and issues have been raised from some of the retailers, and so I'm, Mr. Kretz, leaning towards taking out the 6 month, but I think we should continue, just get the analysis back and the environmental. But this analysis will only cover the environmental issues, and there's other factors that we would look at, so that were brought up in terms of costs, unnecessary costs all around, et cetera. So at least for me, I think I am headed in the direction of removing the 6 months, but let's look at the environmental analysis and make that determination when that comes back, if that's okay.
Very well.
Anything else, Mr.?
I would concur. I don't think, I think Pavlov is a good model here. They're not going to learn until they have to pull out that dime, and that's the fastest and best way to educate them is through physical activity. And if in my neighborhood where they're going to use 4 or 5 bags, that 50 cents is going to send a real message, and that's the fastest way to get them to learn. I also think it's going to delay the educational process, in fact, because people will rely on the free bags and not be educated at all. In fact, it'll have a reverse effect. So I think that's very much something we should reconsider. And I don't, Mr. Chair, I don't understand why we can't bring it back to committee before as the EIR process is going forward. Just consider it more thoroughly as the EIR proceeds, and we can make a policy decision any point along the way. As far as I'm concerned, it's a confusing message that we've sent to the public. We said they read the newspaper, a plastic bag ban hasn't been implemented. It's going to take a long time to get there, and then we're going to delay it another 6 months. Why don't we just get it done, and it'll from a teacher's point of view, the best educational process is one that's very clear, and this is not very clear. It's confusing.
Well, thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, thank you for your presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we have a report submitted by the department on this matter. Would you like to recommend note and file to the committee?
We would know and file this, right? It's just a report?
It's just an update.
Update, yeah, know and file the item. Yeah, thank you. Next item?
Pardon me, Mr. Chair. Richard Williams, Office of the City Clerk. In as much as this is a discussion item, no action can be taken. We can't even receive and file this report.
We could receive and file?
If we accept the report is pending before the committee. So at a future date, the committee could receive and file this report, but at this time, this report doesn't have a council file number.
So should we?
We'll work the matter out with the clerk's office with respect to note and file, or what to do with the report.
Great, thank you.
See you next time.
Next item?
Item number 2, CAO and Public Works reports relative to execution of amendments to 11 contracts for as-needed consultant services for Bureau of Sanitation's automation master plan.
Okay, this was initially recommended as a consent item, but there's some huge dollar amounts attached to this, so I think you just briefly go over it and quick description of what it is, and we'll move forward.
Maria Ramos, Office of the CAO. This is to amend 11 contracts for as-needed consultant services. This would add 3 years to the current contract terms, extending it to December 31st, 2015, as well as increase the cost ceiling by $6 million. So the revised total cost ceiling would be $20 million. Sanitation is currently in the process of requesting to release an RFQ to establish new contracts for these services, but it is not expected to be completed before the current contracts expire. In addition, in November of 2011, the council approved a contract to replace the control systems in the Bureau's treatment plants, and the RFP for this contract was developed using the technical expertise of the engineers on the on-call contract. In order to maintain the availability of the rotating list for this type of work so that projects identified in the strategic plans are not delayed, the amendments are being requested in order to allow the Bureau enough time to release the RFQ. There's no impact to the general fund. Funding is provided by various special funds and programs depending on the project and task order.
Any questions?
I got a couple.
Design?
How is the vendor selected for the scope of work? How does that selection process go?
Good afternoon, Bob Irvin, Bureau of Sanitation. We have 5 areas of expertise in these on-call contracts. A number of the contractors are on multiple lists or areas. What we do is we list, send out a task order solicitation, which is like a mini RFP, and all the vendors or contractors that are on that list respond. And then we have a panel of technical experts that review the proposals, the responses, using preset criteria, much as you would evaluate an RFP. The selection is made, and then we negotiate a task order based on that selection process.
So we're talking $97.5 million?
The $97.5 million is the total contract value for the control system replacement project. That was approved by council back in 2011.
$20 million on top of that?
This $6 million amendment that's before you today is for the project management and oversight of that large control system replacement. The entire $20 million won't be for the control system. These on-call contracts are used for a whole variety of automation and technical information technology and cybersecurity services. So it's only $6 million that's going to be used for the control system project management and oversight.
Well, that's a lot of money. Oversight and management, $6 million. Are the firms located in the city of Los Angeles, the firms that we're dealing with?
They are. They have offices. Most of the primary work's being done by CH2M Hill. I'm sure many of you are familiar with them. They have a large local office in Los Angeles, but they're a multinational company. But they have numerous subs working for them too, many of them small business and minority and women-owned firms as well.
And have we done an analysis to find if these vendors are in good standing with the city and we haven't had lawsuits with them as we have with other vendors in the past, that they're all in good standing and not filing lawsuits against us?
They are all in good standing.
Is that part of the process that you go through?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Okay, so we'll move this item. No objections?
Okay, recommend approval? Okay. And item number 3. And Mr. Chair, we'd like to recommend that you consider both 3 and 4 together, since they both relate to PROPO.
Okay, we'll do 3 and 4 together.
Item number 3 relates to CAO report relative to PROPO's construction project startup and optimization phase. Number 4 is a motion, Rosenall Reyes, relative to Bureau of Sanitation's update on the Mar Vista Rec Center, stormwater treatment.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Shram Karagani, Bureau of Sanitation. I'm here to provide a briefing for you on item 3 and 4 as the CLA indicated that they are related. Item 3, optimization item, as you know, Proposition O program is a $500 million general bond obligation that has been funding 35 multi-benefit projects since 2004 throughout the city. These projects are part of a bigger strategic planning framework called the Water Quality Compliance Master Plan for Urban Runoff, which embraces a green infrastructure approach in meeting Clean Water Act water quality standards and objectives. The plan and its projects are intended to comply with more than 20 TMDLs that the Water Board has adopted for City of Los Angeles 4 watershed: Los Angeles River, Barna Creek, Dominguez Channel, and Santa Monica Bay. The multi-purpose Prop O green projects utilize new technology, advanced natural system, and are first to the city. In order to protect the city's investment in these green projects, the City Prop O team is recommending in having an optimization period for the projects to make the projects more sustainable over a long term. Through a coordination process between the CAO Bond Council, CLA, CAO, outside project expert, Bureau of Engineering, and Bureau of Sanitation, we have developed a protocol to optimize the Prop O constructed projects. There are 11 of them that have been completed. These optimization protocols have been adopted by the Prop O Oversight Committee, both the citizen and administrative committees. The optimization period, which will last on average a 2-year period, will focus and examine the physical, chemical, and biological characteristics of Prop O projects to establish a clear protocol on how to operate and maintain these projects. This makes the transition of the projects to the routine operation and maintenance much smoother. The item before you requests the City Prop O team, which is a mix of city staff from Bureau of Engineering and Sanitation and consulting team, to commence the optimization phase on the completed projects. This concludes my remarks on item 3, and I would be happy to answer any question.
Questions or comments on this item? We don't have any public cards. Mr. Alarcon?
I thought we were going to combine 3 and 4, and given the issues related to item 4, I think the primary question is the level of confidence with regard to these projects. They're similar projects, are they not?
Yes.
So I think we should, given the CVS report regarding Mar Vista, why should we have confidence that we're not going to run into the same kind of design issues that we experienced at Mar Vista?
I would be happy to answer the council member.
Well, you don't have to be happy. You don't have to be happy.
Yeah. Yes.
But you do have to answer the question.
Yes. These projects, council member, are new technology, and these are the first we are using in the city. As I mentioned, these are green projects. Green projects by nature are called self-designing when they are constructed, actually, after their construction, because what it is a combination of runoff vegetation that are supposed to take up the polluted water and oxygen that we provide them. The optimization period, the one that I covered in item 3, is what we are now conducting for Mar Vista project. And as you may know, the Mar Vista project has been designed, constructed, and has nothing wrong with its design. There were some safety issues that are identified by our operation and maintenance folks early on because of the disinfection in a room that we have, and we are addressing that. But the project, what it is, it's not a very complex project. We are intercepting the runoff from a storm drain. We are holding it in a swimming pool type underground tank. We are disinfecting, very similar to your swimming pool, and the water would be used for irrigation of the park. That's in a nutshell what the project is. The safety issues that have been brought up and has been a part of CBS News that you mentioned has to do with that, in case the chlorine comes in contact with the operation and maintenance folks' eyes, we need to provide sink, eye wash, shower. And that's what we are doing. We have already provided portable, eye wash. We are creating a permanent shower. We are holding the the coloring tablet outside the building so the odor would not be there, and creating a fan. Those have been completed, and the safety issues are being addressed, and we hope to start the project. I was designed, nothing has changed regarding that, to start working, starting early 2013.
Okay, then, but I didn't see the report on CBS. But as I understand it, there were employees who were interviewed who said the system doesn't work, that the water is ending up dirtier than when it starts. Is that the case? And if it's not the case, what is going on with the employees?
Yes. In my opinion, Councilmember, the runoff itself, when it comes to an underground tank, the runoff within the city watershed, they have bacteria. In order for you to mitigate the bacteria, you have to use the disinfection. The report that I heard on TV, they had not used the disinfection system, so they have collected the runoff, let it be on an underground tank for many months, and then they took one grab sample. That was not how the project was supposed to operate. The project was supposed to bring the water, add the disinfection, which they never did, in order to kill the bacteria.
Who's the they?
As far as whoever reported that, the one that I said.
Yeah.
If I may,
Please.
Councilmember Alarcon, the day, of course, in this case is sanitation. I mean, this is a sanitation project jointly with Bureau of Engineering as it was designed. I think, by the way, for the record, this is Enrique Zaldivar, the Director of Sanitation. With regards to the content of the news story on CBS, the comments that were made by our employees, both of whom obviously work for me, both interviews were approved by the Bureau, by myself. And the comment that was made with regards to whether it'll work as is or not, it was referred to the chlorination system not being fully improved for safety reasons. So as it was and as it stood there at that moment, there were a number of issues that we did not feel comfortable. Certainly the one employee who was on camera, who was the operations manager of our operations group, did not feel comfortable in being able to recommission the project without the changes and the improvements made to the chlorination system, namely the eye wash and the ventilation. That's what his comments were.
Okay, so is that not a design issue?
With regards to the applicability of the eye wash, there was a difference of opinion starting out in the design phase as to whether one was truly required. It's a small, by certainly commercial standards, meaning the large water treatment plants, wastewater treatment plants that we deal with, as to whether an eye wash is required or not. You heard Sharon mention that it's...
The eye wash is for the employees.
Yes.
So before even going further, the very first question should have been, was the public negatively impacted by this project in any way, shape, or form?
No.
So the only concern that was being mentioned by the employees had to do with their safety?
Correct.
Was it an issue of safety or discomfort? Or both?
Ultimately, safety.
Okay, so, and you believe that those issues have been resolved in all of these projects in item 3?
Councilmember, yes, the lessons learned from as far as the safeties are being incorporated in all of future Prop O projects, yes. Are being incorporated, yeah.
And have they been repaired? Did I hear you say that they had been repaired in
the Mar Vista one, we have provided the portable eye wash, what we are working to create a permanent one. The portable one has been completed.
So there was a decision at some point not to provide the eye wash as part of the design?
Correct, Councilmember.
Okay.
But on the grounds that, like I said, there was a difference of opinion because of the scale and size of it being small, that it didn't warrant even by OSHA standards. But, we're not going to argue on OSHA standard if there's a gray area, and we're going to go ahead and provide the eye wash.
Okay. I'm fine.
Will this optimization phase be done by outside firms or in-house through existing city staff?
Councilmember, that would be a mixture of both city staff because we have to learn the optimization so we could repeat that for all of the proper project. It's a mixture of city, Bureau of Sanitation and outside experts.
So they work together?
Yes, in conjunction with Bureau of Engineering.
Okay, and some of the projects come in low and resulting in some significant savings of the program. What is that savings, and what are the plans for use of the savings? The cost projection versus what it's cost?
I would like to ask my partner of implementation, Mr. Okuda, to answer that.
Good afternoon, Kendrick Okuda, Bureau of Engineering.
We'd like to save money, so this is good.
Yes. There's a currently the program is projecting a $7 million contingency or available contingency program-wide. However, the entire $500 million of the program capital funds have been obligated. That said, there are several projects currently in construction that are large projects, Echo Park, Machado Lake, combined value of about $180 million. Those projects at the very end of, or are currently in construction or will be in construction. As far as project savings, we have to make sure that those projects are completed within budget first before we attempt to realize any project savings. Now, as smaller projects as have been completed in the past, the Bureau of Engineering and the Bureau of Sanitation, as well as CAO, are working to close out those projects and realize savings, but those are going to be very limited and not available immediately.
Okay. Now, do we notify the public of all these projects that are moving forward?
Absolutely. We have a monthly report that we publish and post online. It's the Proposition O monthly report, and we have 2 public meetings every month updating the public on projects. We also have pretty extensive outreach to project stakeholders, which my staff and Shram's staff keeps those stakeholders informed on project process.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the action on these 2 items are, these are just reports, so we will note and file them.
Actually, I think on number 3, there's a CAO recommendation to approve the funding.
Okay, let's do that.
And then note and file on number 4.
Excellent.
And we worked it out with the clerk's office. We're okay to note and file on that.
No objection. Next item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Number 5, CAO report relative to replacement of the wastewater system debt program credit facilities. Actually, no, that's right. That's been approved on consent. I'm sorry about that. Item number 6.
Let's do 6, 7, and 8 together. Okay.
Number 6 relates to DWP report relative to proposed amendment number 4 to existing agreement with Echo Electrics, and 7, similar solar photovoltaic system installation agreement with AECOM, as well as 8 with Solar World. We have staff from DWP.
Okay. I think we're going to do consent on these, but we have public cards, so we'll do the public comment first, please. William Ernest Shennework. And sir, you have, you want to take all the items together and speak to them all together, or should we just do the clock for each item?
No, they're all together.
All together. Okay, we'll give you 6 minutes.
Okay, well, I did a printout which I provided to each of you, which is basically what I'm saying, and I'm hoping to get it all done in 2 minutes. Let's see, this is items 6, 7, and 8, which is 12, 651, 12, 1651, 1652, and 12, 1781. What I did is I looked at what the numbers were, and it looks like we're going to be still spending at least $4 a watt, and that covers out of the Solar World agreement number 47922, $36 million, and you figure $100 per module DWP personnel installation costs, so you end up with $40 million for 10 megawatts, which is $4 a watt. I figure that the 200 megawatts that's mentioned in all these items will probably come out to about $1 billion, between 0.8 and $1 billion even, which is about $250 per person in Los Angeles. Anyway, the contractors seem to be having scheduling problems. More time invariably means more money, and that's what's going on here. The contractor schedule changes may result in LADWP adverse scheduling, in that we're trying to also put up more telephone poles at the same time. DWP 2013 projects may be delayed because critical personnel will still be at Alanto and these other projects. This somewhat defeats the original purpose of using contractors. Worse, according to the October 11, 2012, the LADWP Public Outreach, page 17, apparently there's no expectation that solar PV will be oriented correctly to service the mid-August peak that occurs at 4 p.m. Optimum August aim should be 15 degrees south of due west, 45-degree tilt. LADWP-owned solar PV should produce the most valuable power, not necessarily the maximum kilowatt hours. Apparently, these items are significantly underbid, and if you look at the latest issue of Power Magazine, the December issue, we spent about $1 trillion on windmills, and the editor of Power Magazine says they produce no net CO2 benefit. And he's also advocating the end of the production tax credit, which may also adversely impact these solar facilities. So these guys may all, the next year may all go broke on us, which means LADWP will be left to pick up the pieces.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Are there any questions or comments on these items? No questions or comments. We'll move these items without objection. Next item.
Mr. Chair, that completes your agenda.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you here at the same bat channel and bat time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're too young to know what a bat channel and bat time means, Mr. Zinn.